So the Philadelphia 76ers losing the first round matchup to the Boston Celtics pull the brooms out because it was a sweep, losing 4 games straight in a row. No Ben Simmons the whole series. Just had to lead the way depending on Joel Embiid and then Tobias Harris on the offensive side. And now we see now with the 4-0 sweep, pretty much the 76ers had to make a move. Either it's going to be with the roster, any pickup trades, free agency, let alone with the coaching. Elton Brand is the general manager of Philadelphia 76ers for the last 2 to 3 seasons. And he made a quick move pretty much after getting swept, pretty much the next day or two. Reports have pretty much shown that they fired their head coach, Brett Brown, who pretty much was with Trust the Process for the last 5 or 6 seasons. And then they finally got Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But he's going to be gone now. I've already stated in a couple of my videos, I expected them to fire Brett Brown. I didn't know if they would do it this season or the following, but I knew they had to get him out of there as soon as possible. He's a good coach. He's more of a motivational type, not really the X's and O's. He didn't run a good rotation with the Philadelphia 76ers. You really need to get a coach that can set up an offensive playing style to where you can be able to complement both Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I don't expect Elton Brand to trade any of the two, of Ben Simmons or Embiid. I know Embiid was the one who was leading in the Philadelphia 76ers against the Boston Celtics in the first round matchup. We pretty much got a glimpse and a taste of what a team would be, kind of surrounded Joel Embiid as the main player. That can be the case. Pretty much with Joel Embiid, with that whole series, he even confessed it in the interviews, and I've always said this, that the only way for them to win that series if he would get his back to the basket and post up. The thing with that is for 48 minutes in a game, which he's probably going to play over 30 or so, he can't do that consistently. It's the day and age to where we have the new basketball rules going on with hand checking, the floors being spaced out. There's more small ball lineups of pretty much just opening the floor to where there's three-point shooting that's been going on. Pretty much you have centers and power forwards, so you can be able to pull it off. Stretch fours and stretch fives. Joel Embiid is pretty much in that same category and same pace of things when it comes down to it. So pretty much the next steps for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I've stated this in a couple of videos, I liked how they fired Brett Brown. That's step one. I think for a head coach to fill in, I think Kenny Atkinson should be your head coach. Number one as a candidate, I think you need to interview him, get on the same page, and move forward with it. He was a great coach for that season with the Brooklyn Nets back in 2019, led by D-Lo, and then the crew. You had a couple role players like Jared Dudley and such forth like that. The Brooklyn Nets, they were a great team, great foundation with young players. Kenny Atkinson really had an offensive system that fit as a team together. The 76ers will really benefit off him. I don't really know of any other true head coach that can flow through what they're looking at for the 76ers. Pretty much you need to move Ben Simmons away from the point guard position, put him to either the 3 or 4. I prefer to put him as a small forward, kind of like a young LeBron James, and you really have to ramp him up to pretty much go out there and score. You got to tell Ben Simmons, give me 25 at least every night. He plays lackadaisical like Alonzo Ball. There's really no fire in him. Or you can run him at the 4, kind of like a Giannis Antetokounmpo type, where you just put shooters all around him. Either the 3 or 4 is fine with me. I think if you're going to have Tobias Harris still on the team, then pretty much you can run him at, interchangeable flip-flop. Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons can either run the 3 or 4. So either of those, you have Embiid at the 5. Personally, for me, I would try to let go of Tobias Harris and Al Horford. I don't trust Tobias Harris. He can't really be your number. He can be a number 3 option, but for Tobias Harris, it's too big of a contract when you have 5 years and over $100 million. I think he's pretty overrated when you're paying him that much, over $30 million per season, which is pretty asinine. And then you got Al Horford, who's 35, going to be 36 pretty soon. I think he's 35. It may have slipped my head. Al Horford's around 33, 34, 35 in that range. And you have him for the next 3 seasons locked up for $20 million over every single season. You need to get Tobias Harris and Al Horford out there. You need to move Ben Simmons to the 3 or 4 selection. I prefer the 3. Or you can run him at the 4 like Giannis. You need to bring in a true point guard. You need to bring in Ricky Rubio. I think that should be their number one player they should look for to pretty much initiate the offense. Ben Simmons can still be a point forward. He can bring up the ball in the offense from time to time, but they need a true point guard out there. You can also go the route of a DJ Augustine, pretty much a 3-and-D type player. It's where he and Ben Simmons can bring up the ball time to time. I like Ben Simmons bringing up the ball on the fast break. I think he makes better decisions, and it fits his style of play because he is a quick player. He can get to the rim and kick out for a three. Or let alone whenever they're on the half-court set and they're bringing up the ball, I don't want Ben Simmons to do so. I think their offense is very predictable. It's stagnant, and it doesn't flow well as it needs to be. So if you have Ricky Rubio, a guard like that running, I think this team will have a better offensive system. They need to go back to where they were like in 2018. They had a great offensive net rating with Embiid and Simmons on the floor. Pretty much in 2018 was the rookie season for Ben Simmons. Very simple. You had European or just regular 3-and-D players who can shoot the ball surrounded by him, like J.J. Redick, Ersan Ilyasova. You have Marco Bellinelli, then a couple cats like that. Pretty much space and pace. That's how Ben. And on the half-court set, you can be able to feed Joel Embiid on the post. Pretty much when it comes down to it overall, I think they need to sign Kenny Atkinson for the next steps as your head coach. You need to move Ben Simmons to either the 3 or 4 slot. He can't be your true starting point guard on a team. He's too lackadaisical when it comes to it. There's more potential in him. He's 6'10". He's built muscle. He needs to go out there and score the basketball, drive to the rim. Really needs to keep on working on his shot. I don't think his shot's bad. He just doesn't shoot the ball, and maybe he's just not confident. But you're going to have to force him to shoot the basketball and pretty much give you 25 a night scoring-wise. That's really going to help out the team's offense. In the half-court set, you feed Joel Embiid. So, again, you're going to hire Kenny Atkinson because you fired Brett Brown. You need to bring in to sign DJ Augustine as a point guard and or make a trade for Ricky Rubio. You need to get Tobias Harris off the team. Same thing with Al Horford. You can maybe make a trade there and put a pick or two. Maybe bring in a LaMarcus Aldridge on your team to start at your power forward selection. If you want to run that small ball and pretty much put Ben Simmons at the 4 and Embiid at the 5, then you may want to make a trade to get a Buddy Hield, pretty much a third offensive player that can pretty much score the basketball for you. Buddy Hield's 27 years of age. He wants to get out of Sacramento. I think that could be an ideal fit when it comes down to it. And pretty much you want to put 3-and-D players alongside. In 2020, this season, the chemistry was terrible. The players did not fit at all with that team. I don't understand what Elton Brand was doing. You need to get Al Horford off the team. Same thing with Tobias Harris. You want to bring in a true point guard, Ricky Rubio or DJ Augustine. 3-and-D players like an Allen Crabbe. You can throw in, trying to think, like a Wesley Matthews in there. Make a trade for Buddy Hield. You're going to have to let some picks go. But I think the Philadelphia 76ers are fine where they're at. The Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid experiment is going to have to be around 6 or 7 seasons until you can trade or depart either any of them. They've only had 3 seasons together. They made the second round twice. The third season, Simmons was hurt, so it is what it is. But I think it's not that hard, the moves they can make in going to the offseason. I think they're going to bounce back fairly well. It all depends on Elton Brand. Let's see if he can mess this thing up or he can complement the players together. But moving Ben Simmons out of the point guard slot into the 3 or 4 is very huge for their offense. And Kenny Atkinson, I trust him as the coach for this team, but let's see what other direction they may possibly go.